Hello there everybody and welcome to another edition of Lydia's Crafty Corner with me, Lydia, in my little crafty corner. So today we're going to be creating some floating cards using the very pretty Crafterflower Water Lily. So that's the die set that I have here. So I have a piece of watercolor cardstock just beneath me, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of the little dies that we have in the die set and I'm going to die cut those from the white watercolor cardstock. Now I managed to do this 3 times on this piece of watercolor cardstock, which is 9 inches by 12. So if you kind of really squeeze them all in, you are able to get 3 sets of these, so you can create 3 cards using the images. Once that's done, I'm going to add a little bit of water onto my craft surface, and that is just going to keep this piece of cardstock from curling because it's wet underneath. And then once I've added the wetness underneath, I'm going to add the paper, and then I'm going to add some more wetness on top, so it's all very, very wet. Once that's done, I'm going to take my watercolors. I have the Artist watercolors from Altenew. These are the 24 set. And what I've done is I've added a little bit of water just over the top of them, just to kind of activate all of the pigments. And I'm then going to go ahead, take a paintbrush, and I'm just going to take these colors and just drop them into the watercolor paper that we have that has been die cut. But as you remember, it's nice and moist. So if we just kind of drip colors in, it's just going to spread by itself. Once you feel that the watercolor paper is getting a little bit dry, you can add some more water onto it. I'm just using a mini mister to do this. I find that it works really, really well. So for the leaves and the stems, I used a mix of the green colors from the set, and I've just added those where I think it would be the darkest, so kind of like at the center of those leaves. I then moved on to some more yellowy colors for the flower centers, and I've just added those in. And then for one of the flowers, I have gone with like pinks and oranges. I did kind of confuse myself a little bit with which flower was meant to go with which piece. So I would recommend, once you have die cut all of the dies, just kind of draw around those with a pencil line, and then you know that those need to be a certain color, unless you're doing all of the colors the same color. But like me here, I am doing 3 different colors, so it would have been more helpful for me to kind of add those lines in so I didn't overpaint ones that didn't need to be the right color, if that makes sense. So for the purpley flowers, I've gone with a mix of the purple tone and also some blues in there. I do love the mix of colors when you do watercolors. I don't necessarily just stick with one. I do kind of put a couple of different tones in so I can get all of these beautiful shades of color there. And for the blue kind of turquoisey one, I've gone with some seashore ink and then some of that lime green as well. It's going to make a really beautiful color. As you can see, the colors do mute and go lighter as they dry. So I did leave these dry a little bit and then wanted to add a little bit of a curl to them. So to do this, I am using my heat tool, and I'm just drying them on one side so the petals kind of curl over on top of each other to create this really beautiful effect. You can curl them later on with your fingers, but you can also do it with your heat tool, and I just wanted to show you that. But do be very careful when you're doing that and use some tweezers. As you can see, I am going to put these little flowers together. I love the crafter flowers that they have these little cutouts in them, so it's really easy to pop them together. All you need to do is line up the little keyhole and also the arrow, and you don't need to worry about the petals themselves. You're just worrying about those little cutouts just to make sure that everything's perfectly placed. It's so clever and so easy. For the bud, everything's going to line up right on the bottom edge, so this is really easy to put together too. I am using some wet glue, but you could use glue tape if you wanted to. Once that's done, I'm then going to go ahead and do the other flowers in the same way. So I'm going to do the purple one, and I am just lining up those little cutouts of the keyhole and the arrow just to make sure that this is perfect. It goes together so quickly. Even on the die cuts themselves, they have embossed numbers, so you know which one it needs to go first. It has a little 1 on there, you go with that layer first, then you go for number 2, line up the little cutouts. It is so easy to do. Once you have done one, I don't even think that you're going to need the layering guide that's on the packaging again. It's that easy and quick and simple to put these together. So I'm just going to keep going until I have all of my little flowers done. Once that's done, I can add the little kind of curl up on these large lily pads too. Once I have all of my flowers, I'm just going to move those over to the side. For the first card, I have a side folding card base, and I'm just going to draw a line on a diagonal to kind of work as a guideline. I'm then going to take some large scissors and I'm just going to trim along that line that we just created and then the top part of the center fold, and that's going to give us a really cute kind of diagonal half fold on this card. I'm then going to take one of the sentiments from the Craft Your Life project kit, the Watercolor Flowers one. I'm just going to add that into place using some obsidian on that little flap that we have on the bottom. Once that's done, I can then go ahead and add in my little images. So I have the large leaf and then going to add one of the flowers. As you can see, you're going to want to add all of these little elements onto each other, onto that bottom flap. You don't want any of the stickiness to go above the flap, because if it does, it will stick to the card below and it won't open up. So I'm just going to add this little piece in, do a little bit of a trimmage. Now I do have a little bit of sticky here, so I'm going to get rid of that just by using some baby powder, and that's going to get rid of the stick. So even if I press this down now, it's not going to stick to that back portion. For our second card, I'm going to cut a circle into the front. I am using one of the circles from the Half Tone Circles nesting die set. Just pop that into place and then ran that through. Again, as before, when we stick all of these elements into place, you want to stick them on the front of the card and not on anywhere that's going to touch the back of the card. So you can see that I've just added some little spots of glue just where it's going to touch on the front. And then for this one, when I add in the foam tape, I will just be adding it just at the bottom and the top of this little bud, just where it's going to touch the lily pad and also the top part of that circle die cut area. You can open the card up so you make sure that you're not going to stick it together. I have stuck them together before, so just make sure that you don't do that. This one did kind of peel away from me, so I'm just going to add a little bit more glue on here. I was going to add foam tape just to add a little bit dimension, but I did forget. So this one is going to be flatter than the previous one. Just going to add one of the sentiments again from the same stamp set as before, and there is the second card complete. Now for the third one, I have a piece of cardstock. This is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I am going to score this. I'm going to score it at 1 1/2, and then 2 1/2, and then 3 1/2. And then once I have all of my little score lines in place, again at 1 1/2, 2 1/2, and 3 1/2, I am then going to pop the score lines. I'm going to make them more scored, so I'm going to fold them. So I'm going to fold these. I am going to use my bone folding tool just to burnish those down, because we really do want some crisp edges on this one. So once I have my little concertina done, I'm then just going to trim off the edge that kind of overlaps the rest of it. So we're going to have the 1 1/2, the 1, 1, and then another 1 1/2. So you can see that I'm just going to get rid of that piece, and then we have our little concertina. I'm then going to take one of the sentiments, again from the Craft Your Life kit, and I'm going to stamp that into place using some Obsidian ink. You can see that the concertina folds are below me on the sentiment here. So when I pop that together, we're going to have this little tent shape. I have a piece of acetate here. This is 6 by 4 1/4, and I'm just going to score that at the 3-inch mark. And this is going to create a little tent fold that we're going to adhere to the little concertina that we've just created. Again, you're going to really want to burnish that down to make sure that you have that crisp fold there. It wasn't quite 6 inches, so I've just trimmed it. So once that's done, I'm going to add some of the super sticky tape from Altenew. This works really quite well for the acetate. So I'm just going to add some both to both sides of our little tent fold that we have here, and then remove the backing, and then I'm just going to nestle that right at the bottom of that first fold. Make sure that's nicely stuck down, and then add this one in the back piece. You can add pieces that are going to cover this if you wanted to hide that adhesive, but it's really not that noticeable at all, so I'm not going to worry about it. Once that's done, I can then add my little flowers into place. Again, as before, you're going to want to stick all your adhesive on that cardstock rather than the acetate, because you don't really want to see that there. I am going to trap my little bud into place using some of the foam tape from Altenew. So I'm just going to pop that on my flower, trap the bud underneath, and then stick that down. And there is our little third card complete, and that looks so cute. So once that's done, we have all of our 3 cards. We have 3 different ideas for kind of creating a floating look with the images. So I really do hope you have enjoyed this one. So I really do hope that you love the cards as much as I do. I think they're very pretty. I am loving this watercolor look. If you do create a card that was inspired by any of these, it would be great if you do share, because we'd love to see. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and we'll see you again really soon. Bye. Hello there, crafty friend, Lydia here. Just popping in to say that you can get your daily dose of crafting tips, techniques and tutorials just like this by subscribing to the Altenew YouTube channel. All you need to do is click on that little bell up there and you will never miss a video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.